In this session, we will look at the Design and Computation Manager. The objectives here are to help you understand the format of the hierarchical database or the DDB file and how we use it. We'll use the DNC Manager to plot COGO elements and information, as well as other design-related elements into MicroStation. And then we'll use the DNC Manager in conjunction with other Geopak and MicroStation tools to draw and manipulate elements. Now, as an introduction, the DNC Manager, the Design and Computation Manager, this tool allows us to standardize graphic elements for drafting and pay item quantities. We do this by setting up certain symbologies and attributes for elements in the database file. And so if we use the database file to draw these elements, anyone in the company or the agency who uses this particular DDB file, when they draw a particular element from that file, it will look the same and have the same attributes. The database is used with the DNC Manager, and it stores information concerning functional classification and display preferences for each one of these features in the MicroStation file. So let's go into a MicroStation file. And first of all, look at how to access the DNC Manager. First of all, if I go over here into my taskbar, I've got an icon here for the DNC Manager, the Design and Computation Manager. If I go down also to the Plan, Prep, and Quantities tools, I can find the DNC Manager icon here also. And also can access from the Applications Geopak Road. If I go down to Design and Computation Manager, I can access it from here. All of these buttons will access the same tool. So I'm going to select the Design and Computation Manager from the taskbar over here. And I'm going to expand this box so we can see it a little better. Close some of this up. And the first thing we want to note here is the path to the database file or the DDB file. In this case, we're using the default DDB, which is located in the bin directory, wherever Geopak is stored on your system. In this case, we're in Program Files, Bentley, Geopak, V8, 11, bin, and then the default DDB is located in that directory. You'll notice that the DDB file is set up in a directory structure. If I have 3 directories here. I have drafting standards, pay items, and 3 PC applications, which is 3-port criteria. But if I double click on drafting standards, then I get another set of directories or subdirectories. If I double click on one of the subdirectories, I even get more subdirectories, until I get down to opening a directory and finding what appears to be a little paintbrush. This is an actual feature, and this is basically the end of the road for that particular item. These are drawn features. If I go to ground profiles, I've got existing and proposed. If I go to existing, then you'll see that I have these features for all the different horizontal vertical scales of profiles that I want to draw. Now, if I go back to drafting standards and pull down pay items, and we'll choose, for instance, drainage, English, pipes, storm sewer with attributes. Now you'll notice that these features don't have one of those paintbrushes, but have a little calculator. What this means is this particular feature has an attribute tag attached to it, which allows us to get quantities on that particular item. And we'll look at that a little bit later in more detail. So I'm going to close these back up, navigate back up into drafting standards. We'll take another look at the box here. we have icons across, tool icons across the top. This first icon is switched to toolbox mode. If I select it, it brings up a smaller version of the dialog box mode, but it gives you all the same features. If I pull this down and go to drafting standards, the next box will give you all of the subdirectories under drafting standards. I can go up a directory, down a directory, find item, ID an item. I've got my display features. I have all the tools that I would have in the dialog box, only in a reduced, one is a reduced size. To go back to the dialog mode, then I just simply come to the right here, click on this button, and it brings back the dialog mode. Now, let's look at the other tools here. The first tool here is the identify item, which means that if there is an item in the screen or in the DGN file that was drawn with this DDB file, if I hit ID and select that item and accept it, it will take me in the database file to where that item resides. All right. I have a display mode, and we'll look at these in more detail in just a minute. A display mode that lets me display certain things. One of the things the display mode has is it has a collection box. It's one of the, there's several tools in here that have collection boxes. This is one of them, which allows you to display certain things that are placed in this collection box. The next feature is the design or drawing tool. Allows me to draw things on the screen. It comes up with another item here. If I go to horizontal alignment and horizontal alignment roadway, then you'll notice this becomes active. The two tools that are used most with this are these two tools. We'll talk about those and the differences in those two a little bit later. I have the set tool. The set tool allows me to set a microstation symbology to match the symbology of an item that's located in the DDB file. Okay. Compute allows us to compute quantities of items that are selected from this group. From the pay item group that's drawn on the screen, we can actually compute those the quantities after they've been drawn in the file. We have a shape tool. Shape tool allows us to get quantities for different shapes. For instance, paving shapes. We can go in and get the quantities for those particular shapes in whatever format that they are paid for. They're just cubic yards, square yards. The next button is the pavement markings. We have striping, separation, diverge, and merge. What this does, these tools will draw striping on the screen based on striping that has been selected, pay item striping that's been selected from the DDB file, and then allows us to get a quantity on that information once it's drawn in the screen. The last option here is preferences. This particular option is not available on DDB files that are passworded. For instance, many of the agencies, the DOTs or DORs, all have their own all have their own DDB file, but they have been passworded so that people don't get these DDB files and then go in and modify them. So they are passworded. So if you opened up one of those or attached one of those DDB files and hit this button, it would ask you first for a password. And you'd have to enter that password before any of this information became available. In this case, the default DDB that's delivered with Geopak is not passworded. So you can go in and create a new category, create a new item. You can go in and modify an item, or you can go in and review a particular item. So let's go look at some of these items in more detail. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to go back down to my pay items, drainage English pipes with attributes, and we're going to pick the 24-inch. And I'm going to go to the design tool because I want to draw this in the screen. Now, in the design tool, these two buttons are the most used features. The difference in these two is that place influence will actually draw things that are not stored in the GPK file. The draw Cogo element or draw plane and profile will draw things only that are stored in the GPK file. For instance, if I wanted to draw an alignment, I would choose draw plane and profile. If I wanted to draw a right-of-way line is not stored in the GPK file, so I would use the place influence. Now, in this particular instance, this 24-inch pipe would not be stored in the GPK file, so I would use place influence. Now watch what happens to the standard default microstation symbology when I hit place influence. It automatically changes it to the symbology that is set up for this 24-inch pipe. So if I go in and choose my CAD tools, and I choose one of the line commands, and I draw a line, that line is drawn in the symbology of a 24-inch RCP. Now, if I navigate back, drainage, we'll go back to pay items, close all this up, we'll go to drafting standards, and we'll go to imperial and right away. Okay, the first tool, the identify element or identify item, if I select that, for instance, if I've gotten into a file and I know that there's elements in here that have been drawn with this DDB file, but I'm not sure which item this is, I can go hit ID, select the element, accept it, and it will take me to the feature or pay item in the file, in the DDB file that was used to draw that particular element. That is what the ID item tool will do. Now, if I go in and use the next tool, is called the display. So if I go to display, display is one of the tools that also gives us a collection box. It gives us another additional box in the bottom here. What that allows us to do is go in and say, okay, I want to display, use the 24-inch pipe. I'll double click that and place it in this collection box. When I select the display tool, I get this little menu box or little toolbox. The first one is normal display, which pretty much says it all. It's normal display. Everything is displayed the way it was placed in the file. The next tool is highlight tool. In other words, we're going to highlight the selected item. And so if I select that, then, well, my highlight, let me go into my settings and design file, change my highlight color. My highlight color is set to yellow. I'm going to set it to green and say OK, so that if I highlight this, then it highlights the pipe. Regardless of where it is, it will highlight all of the 24-inch pipe in this file. The next tool will hide the selection. In other words, it will take it completely off the screen. And the last one will display only the selection. It will take everything else off the screen, hide everything else, and only show you the highlighted item here, or the selected item. So if I wanted to see where all 24-inch pipe was in my project, I could use this tool. It would hide everything else, and it would show me only that particular pipe. Now, if I wanted to see all of the pipe, I could go in here and say storm sewer pipes with attributes. I could right-click on this particular item and say add to collection. And that would add, take this one, double click to get rid of it, and now I have all of the storm sewers, or all the storm sewer with attributes selected. And so if I do that, then all of the pipe that is in the file, all the storm sewer in the pipe will be affected and highlighted. The one thing you need to remember is whenever leaving this tool, always come back and set it to normal display. If you don't, if it's set to one of these other display modes, it will follow you throughout the session. So we'll close that out. We've looked at the design tool. What I'm going to do now is actually draw a horizontal alignment. We'll go back, pay items, horizontal alignment. We'll go to our feature, horizontal alignment roadway, and you'll notice that this comes up as draw plan and profile. I want to toggle this off since I'm going to use the draw plan and profile. This particular item is stored in the GPK file. So I'm going to say draw plan and profile. Select that, open it up, and I'm going to change this. I've got points, lines, curves, spirals, change, and stationing. So I'm going to change that to chains. I have the ability to choose any of this information. So I'm going to say I want my line direction labels and my curve data to be placed with this alignment. And I'm going to select main line. All right, and there is the alignment. Now I'm going to delete this pipe here, and I'm going to do a fit so we can see our alignment. Move some of this out of the way, and I have my line direction labels and I have my curve data. Now the next thing I want to do is go in and station this alignment. Now before we go to stationing, I want to make a point here that if I would have hit this button and not seen this alignment on the screen, don't continue to hit this button because it will continue to draw this alignment over and over again on top of itself. If you select this one time and you don't see the alignment, then do a fit view. If you still don't see the alignment, then check your levels to make sure they're all turned on. Okay, I'm going to go to stationing. All my tick mark information is here. I'm going to go and select main line, and as soon as I select main line, it will station my alignment. Close this out. Now, one of the things I want to show you, I'm going to close the CAD tool bar here, is we have a couple of tools over here that can be used in conjunction with the DNC Manager. Let me shrink this up a little bit. For instance, if I want to draw my right-of-way, I'm going to go in here and choose right-of-way. The bottom one down here, right-of-way, and we'll choose, we have several options. I'm going to choose 100-foot right-of-way. And right-of-way, since right-of-way is not stored in the GPK file, I want to use place influence to draw my right-of-way. When I hit place influence, I get this changes color to the color that's set up for 100-foot right-of-way. And then I'm going to go to my geometry tools. Open up geometry tools, and these two tools right here, the deep draw transition and the DP station offset, are the tools that are used in conjunction with the DNC Manager. And I'm going to choose draw transition. And we'll look at both of these tools in just a minute. But the first one I want to use is this one. I want to use main line. This is the beginning. I want to make sure, if I want to make sure that this is truly the ending station, I can delete it hit enter, and it will go back out and read the GPK file to make sure that it's the correct station. Now, this is a 100-foot right-of-way, so I want my beginning and ending offset, first beginning and ending offset, to be a minus 50. So I'll start on the left-hand side of the alignment, minus 50. And all I do is hit draw. And it has drawn a right-of-way line 50 feet to the left. All I have to do to draw it on the right-hand side is take the minus out, hit draw, and it has drawn it on the right-hand side. Now, the reason we use the draw transition is that tool will take into consideration, since you notice that it's asked us what the alignment is, it will utilize the curves in that alignment when drawing anything connected to the alignment. In other words, if we draw edge of pavement, which we can do, it will follow the curves, follow the alignment exactly. The difference in this tool and the DP station offset tool is simply this. This will only draw in straight lines. It's still going to utilize the mainline tools, mainline information, but what this does is precision drawing. So if I go in here and I say that I want to draw, I'm going to go back to my pay items, and we'll go back to our pipe. Now you notice I've had to go back and re-navigate to that particular pipe. I've used it several times. If that's the case in your project, and you don't want to have to go back and re-navigate through all that stuff, there's also a tool at the top here called Favorites. And if I go to Favorites and I say Add to Favorites, then it adds that 24-inch pipe to my favorites. So that if I navigate up here, and I'm back up in drainage and back up in drafting standards, all I have to do is go to Favorites, go right here to this 24-inch, and it takes me automatically back to, or immediately back to that location. So what I've got here is I've got the 24-inch pipe, I've got place influence, and I want to start my pipe at station 293 plus 17, and I want to start it at minus 38 feet. I go get my draw line command, I'll go back to my CAD tools, and I hit a DP. When I hit DP and come into the screen, you'll notice that it has anchored that pipe at station 293, 17, 38 feet to the left. I don't have to hit OK, a data point, or anything else. I just come over here and say I want it to end. We'll say at 293, 33. And I want it to end at 40 feet to the right. All I do is hit a DP, and now that pipe is drawn in that exact location. Now this can be used for precision drawing of pipes, anything that is not affected by the curvature of the alignment. You can use this DP station offset tool, but keep in mind it only draws straight lines. If you want to draw a curve, utilize the curvature of the alignment with something you're drawing, for instance, if I was drawing a metal beam guard fence in this area, then I would need to use the draw transition tool. So the draw transition transition tool and the DP station offsetter, two of the tools that you would use to draw information from utilizing the DDB file. So let me do a fit. And we'll go back and look at some of our other tools. Now, the next tool we have is the set command. Now what the set command does is, first of all, this is our microstation, default microstation symbology. This no longer, we have turned this display off. The place influence is turned off. We're going to go to our set command. This is microstation symbology. I'm going to go draw a line in my file, and we're going to say that that line is going to go along here, and that line there needs to be a 36-inch pipe. You'll notice that when I select it, it puts it in this box, the top of this box. And what I can do now is hit the set command, select this line, accept it, and now it has the symbology of a 36-inch class 3 pipe. And if I did quantities, which we'll do shortly, did quantities on this pipe, it will actually get a quantity on that as a 36-inch pipe. So that's what the set command does, is allows you to set the symbology of elements that are stored in the DDB file and set those elements, set that symbology to just standard microstation lines. The next tool is the compute button. The compute tool is the other tool that has the collection field. You'll notice that I have all the attributes here. I'm going to utilize this in conjunction with a chain. I got the option to do in the DGN file or the reference none, but I'm going to do it with a chain. I'm going to select the chain, which is the main line. I've got a range here, so I can pick how far to the left and the right I want Geopak to look for these elements. I can do a beginning and ending station. We'll do this in the view inside, and then I'm going to hit compute quantities. And when I hit compute quantities, it gives me the fact that I have 79.6 feet, linear feet. It gives me the item number. It gives me a description of the item. It gives me a quantity. It gives me the fact of how it's paid for. There is the 36-inch pipe, and I've got 1,067.8 feet of that. This can be exported into several different options, into a comp book, item report, item table, into a table format. We can export this to a database management system or CSV files or to a table. Now, the next option here is the shape tool. And what I'm going to do for the shape tool is I'm going to go back into my pay item information, and we're going to get out of drainage and go into plan asphalt pavement, and we'll just use this particular tool. And what I'm going to do with this is, first of all, go to design and do place influence. There is the symbology for that, and I'm going to start drawing some lines. And we'll zoom in. I'm just going to do this as an example, so we'll zoom into an area here and draw lines. And I'm going to draw an area in here in the middle. Okay. Now what I've done is draw these boxes with the symbology of asphalt pavement. Now I'm going to go to the shape command. And you have several options. You have semi-automatic, which you can navigate around if this was a regular shape. Automatic, which would just go automatically around the shape, or exclusive, which is the one I'm going to use here. And the reason I'm using exclusive is because I want to show you that if this is a situation where we have pavement, but in the middle we have a grassy area, and the only thing I want it to get is just the outside pavement and exclude this inside area. So to do that, I'm going to hit draw, and this has a radius of 5 feet with 5 units, so that's fine. I'm going to hit draw, and if I notice down in the bottom left hand corner of my screen, it says select a data point for outer shape. Now the reason it says that is if I hit a data point, or when I hit a data point, Geopak goes straight up from that data point, and the first element that it encounters is what it uses for the outer shape, which means that I don't want to hit a data point here or here. So I'm going to hit a data point out here. It goes around, and then it says data point for hole in shape. So I'm going to go inside here, hit a data point for that. And now if I go over here to my view attributes and turn my fill on, then you can see that I've got this area, and they have excluded the area here. And now I can get a quantity on that particular element of that particular pavement, and it'll give me only what it sees in white. All right. So that's what the shape does. Now we'll go ahead and delete that out of the way. Get rid of all these. And the next thing I want to show you is our pavement items. The striping, the separation, and the merge and diverge. I'm going to go down towards the beginning here because I want to show you this relatively close up. These are also pay items. We're going to go into our pay item box. Let me sync this up a little bit. We're going to go to pavement markings. We'll use, let's use thermoplastic, and it really doesn't matter, we'll just use one of these lines. And I'm going to select striping. And when I select the striping, you'll notice that this is already placed in here. Whatever's selected here will be placed here. I have multiple options here. I have single stripes A and B, and then I can go in and set up double stripes A, B, C, and D. I'm just going to use single stripe for right now. Do I want this as a solid or a skip? Well, I want this as a skip. Do I want to start on the stripe or on the skip? I want to start on the stripe. The stripe is 10 feet standard, and the skip is normally 30 feet. So the chain that I want to use the information from this chain, so I'm going to pick main line, beginning and ending station, and the first setting that I want to put in here is 12 feet. And it doesn't make any difference right now. I don't have to put them plus or minus, because what happens is this. Once I put in 12 feet and I have beginning and ending station, I'm going to say draw stripe. Nothing happens until I move my cursor into the screen. When I move my cursor into the screen, then the striping becomes visible. Now, when I move it to the other side of the road, it will allow me to put it on one side of the road or the other. It's going to auto increment. I'm going to hit a reset because I just want it right there. Then I'm going to hit draw stripes, go back to the other side of the road, data point, reset, and now I've just drawn my striping from beginning to end of my alignment, including the area where the curves are. All right. Now, if I want to draw my outside stripe, then I can come in here and I can say solid. I can go back and say 24 feet. Say
say draw stripe, move it into the screen, hit a data point, reset, because it's automatically going to auto increment another 12 feet. I don't really need that. And then I'm going to say draw stripe, move to the other side, hit a data point, reset. And now I've not only drawn this striping from beginning to end, but I can go into compute and actually get the information in our computations on the quantity of this thermoplastic, and it's only going to measure what it sees on the screen. In other words, it's just going to measure the stripe part of this and give you the exact quantity. All right, that's striping. Now, if I want to do separation, all I have to do is come in, and I'm just going to draw a couple of lines here to represent an area where we want to do some separation. We're going to use the same type of white thermoplastic. I'm going to go into Separation Tool. It wants to know the distance between the stripe, and I'm going to make that, we'll say 10 feet. If we want to do this at an angle, we can put an angle in here, and then it wants a beginning, end, and reference point. So if we go to begin point, and we go to this little begin point tool over here on the right hand side, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to just hit a data point in the middle of the area right here. I'm going to go to end point, go to the other side in the middle, hit a data point there. It's actually putting coordinates for those areas in there. And then the reference or pivot point, I'm just going to hit a data point somewhere in the middle, and I'll show you what that does in just a second. So once I've done this, then I've got two sides, side 1 and side 2. I'm going to select this, select the element and accept it, do the same thing for side 2, and then I'm going to say draw separation. Nothing happens until I move my cursor into the screen. Now, once I move this past that reference point in the middle, it will automatically switch it to the other side. And it'll stay that way until I hit a data point to accept it. And now I've accepted that information, and now it's placed on the screen. And if I get quantities on this, I can get quantities on these lines right here because they are drawn with the pay item. Now, the diverge and merge are basically the same, so I'm only going to do one of those. Go back to my draw line command, and I'm going to draw just a gore area. And I'm going to choose, we'll say the diverge, and we'll make that 10 feet also. And in this case, it says gore point. It even tells you which end, the wide end of the gore. So we're going to hit a data point, go out here somewhere and hit a data point at the wide end. We're going to go in and hit the diverge point, which is the narrow end of the gore. Select a point, hit that, and then the break line. So that break line is going to be somewhere in the middle here, where the chevron is going to break. We're going to do the same thing with accepting these side pieces and accepting them. Select and accept, and then draw chevrons. We moved into the screen. There are the chevrons. Hit a data point, and they're drawn. And once again, that works the same way for the merge area. So let's delete this. We'll delete this line, we'll delete this line. These lines here were drawn, all these lines are drawn as a graphic group, so I can delete them all as one unit. And the same thing with the striping here. So that concludes our look at the DandCMgr.